The wooden bench in the courthouse hallway is polished from years of nervous hands, and at high noon the bright light cuts across it like an accusation. The danger is not the jury behind the closed door. The danger is what the defense attorney begins doing inside his own mind while he waits. Most people think pressure peaks when the verdict is spoken. It does not. It often peaks in the silence before anyone knows. He sits there in his suit, hearing heels click across the marble floor, each step sharp enough to pull his attention away from the present and into every mistake he may have made. One question keeps circling beneath his calm face: did I fail? That is the private courtroom nobody sees. A lawyer can survive cross-examination, objections, hostile witnesses, and long nights with case files spread across a kitchen table. But waiting strips away performance. Waiting leaves only attention. And when fear of professional failure starts writing the future before it arrives, the mind becomes its own opposing counsel. So the training begins here, not in the argument, not in the verdict, but on a wooden bench under bright light, learning how not to be swallowed by what has not happened yet. The defense attorney does not look afraid. That is part of the job. He sits on the wooden bench with his jacket buttoned, his tie still centered, his shoes still pointed toward the courtroom doors as if order on the outside can hold the inner world together. His briefcase rests against his shin. His legal pad is closed. The yellow pages inside still carry the crooked pressure of his handwriting from closing argument, the places where he pressed harder because he wanted the jury to believe him, because he needed them to believe him. The hallway around him has its own discipline. Marble floors, brass plaques, old varnished doors, light flooding in too bright through tall courthouse windows. At high noon, there is almost no shadow to hide in. Every face passing through the corridor looks exposed. Clerks move with files tucked under their arms. A bailiff speaks quietly near the elevator. Somewhere down the hall, heels click against marble in a steady rhythm, then fade, then return with someone else's steps. The jury is still deliberating. Nothing is happening. And that is exactly why everything begins to happen inside him. A trial gives a lawyer something to fight. A witness asks a question with their eyes, and he can stand. A prosecutor pushes too far, and he can object. A judge interrupts, and he can adjust. Even a bad moment in court has shape. It has language. It has procedure. Waiting has none of that. Waiting opens the door to imagination. He replays the cross-examination first. Not the whole thing. Just the one answer that landed wrong. The witness hesitated. He remembers that. He could have pressed. He could have paused longer. He could have let the silence do its work. Instead he moved on, and now the mind takes that small decision and builds a gallows out of it. Then comes the closing argument. The sentence near the end. Too soft? Too rehearsed? Did the jury see sincerity, or did they see a man trying to save a case he knew was slipping? His thumb moves along the edge of the wooden bench, tracing a small scratch in the varnish. Back and forth. Back and forth. He does not notice it at first. The body often confesses before the face does. On his phone is a message he has not opened. It came from a younger attorney in his office, thinking of you. Whatever happens, you carried this one hard. He saw the preview 10 minutes ago and locked the screen. Because comfort can feel unbearable when you are still waiting to learn whether you deserve it. That is the shadow in this hallway. Not the law. Not the jury. Not even the verdict. The shadow is the fear of professional failure, and it knows exactly where to strike a person who has built his life around competence. It does not say, you may lose this case. It says, you may not be who you thought you were. That is why this kind of fear cuts deeper than ordinary anxiety. It attacks identity. A defense attorney can tell himself that every case is risk, that juries are unpredictable, that the facts were difficult, that no lawyer controls everything. All of that may be true. But fear does not care about the balanced version. Fear edits the record. It removes context. It calls only the worst witnesses. It asks the same question again and again until the mind starts answering like a defendant under pressure. Did you miss something? Did you fail him? Will they remember you as the lawyer who could not carry the weight? A woman walks past in black heels. The clicking sound crosses the marble floor with almost cruel precision. His eyes follow the sound before he catches himself. For a second, he is not in the hallway anymore. He is in a future that has not arrived, the courtroom door opening, the foreperson standing, his client turning toward him with a face he cannot bear to meet. He inhales too high in his chest. Then he adjusts his cuff. It is a small movement, almost invisible. But in that movement is the old professional reflex: fix the surface before anyone sees the crack. He has done it in courtrooms for years. Straighten the tie. Organize the papers. Lower the voice. Make the body look like it knows what the mind is still trying to find. There is dignity in that, sometimes. There is also danger. Because performance can become a hiding place. Zanshin does not ask him to stop caring. It does not ask him to become cold toward the client, the case, the years of training, the reputation that feels suddenly fragile. Real awareness is not detachment in a clean room. It is attention under pressure, attention while the future is trying to drag you by the throat. The art of waiting begins when the person stops confusing imagination with evidence. The verdict has not been read. The jury has not returned. The judge has not called anyone back into the courtroom. The hallway is still the hallway. The wooden bench is still under his hand. The light is still too bright. The heels on marble are only heels on marble. A sound does not become prophecy unless the mind kneels before it. But he is close to kneeling. That is the confrontation. Not a dramatic breakdown. Not a speech. Not some visible collapse. Just a man sitting upright in a courthouse hallway while his mind quietly prepares to punish him before life has even spoken. This is where many people lose command. Not because they are weak, but because they mistake mental noise for responsibility. They believe that if they rehearse every disaster, they are preparing. They believe that if they accuse themselves early enough, the verdict will hurt less. They believe worry is a form of loyalty. It is not. Worry may wear the suit of duty, but it often steals the hands that duty needs. The undisciplined response would look respectable from the outside. He could keep sitting there while internally tearing through every alleged mistake, every facial expression from the jury, every phrase from the prosecution. He could check his phone, then regret checking it. He could stand, pace, sit, stand again. He could look busy. He could call it strategy. He could call it realism. But none of that would serve the client. None of that would restore a single sentence from trial. None of that would make him more ready when the bailiff finally opens the door. A disciplined response is quieter and harder. It begins by admitting the fear without giving it the bench. He lets the fear be present, but he does not let it take the center seat. He feels the tightness behind his ribs and does not turn it into a verdict. He notices the urge to rewrite the trial in his head and does not obey it immediately. He hears the heels on marble again and lets the sound arrive, strike, and pass. The courthouse has not changed. The jury is still out. The stakes are still real. But for the first time in several minutes, he knows the difference between what is happening and what he is inventing. That difference is small. It is also everything. Zanshin is not dramatic. It is the discipline of remaining available to the present after the mind has discovered 1,000 ways to abandon it. For a defense attorney waiting on a verdict, that means he cannot drift into self-prosecution. He cannot use the empty hallway as a place to rehearse professional death. He cannot let fear of failure make him unavailable for the next duty. Because when the door opens, someone may look at him first. His client may look at him before looking at the judge. The family may search his face for information he does not have. The room may ask him, without words, whether there is still a person standing there who can remain steady. And steadiness in that moment will not be created at the sound of the verdict. It is being trained now. On the wooden bench. Under high noon light. While the heels keep clicking on marble, and the future has not yet been allowed to speak, training does not begin when the verdict is read. It begins while the hallway is still empty, while the jury is still behind a closed door, while his hand is still worrying the scratched edge of the wooden bench as if the varnish can answer it. The defense attorney notices his thumb moving first. That is the first honest thing in the hallway. Not the story in his head. Not the prediction. Not the memory of the witness who hesitated. Just the thumb, dragging over the same rough mark in the wood, back and forth, wearing a private groove into a public bench. He stops it. Not dramatically. No one sees it. He simply lifts his thumb away from the scratch and places his palm flat against the bench. The wood is warm where the high noon light has touched it. The grain presses into his skin. There is dust in the seam where the seat meets the backrest. For a few seconds, he lets that be enough. Wood. Heat. Hand. The mind tries to leave again. It wants the courtroom door. It wants the foreperson's face. It wants the sentence he should have said in closing. It wants to drag him into every possible version of failure so he can suffer them early and call it preparation. He does not follow all the way. He plants both shoes on the marble floor. The right sole is slightly uneven from the walk between the parking garage and the courthouse steps. He feels that small tilt under his foot. The left heel settles. His knees loosen. His shoulders drop a fraction, just enough for the breath to move lower than his collarbone. That is the second movement of training, The body returns before the mind agrees. Fear of professional failure lives in abstraction. Reputation, career, judgment, loss, shame. Words so large they become impossible to hold. So he makes the battle smaller. He does not try to solve his entire life on a courthouse bench. He does not decide what the verdict means before the verdict exists. He gives himself one task that can be completed inside the next breath. Sit upright without becoming rigid. That is all. A pair of heels clicks down the hallway again. Sharp on marble. Measured. Closer this time. His chest tightens before his thoughts can form around it. The sound has become a trigger because the mind has attached it to the imagined return of the jury. He listens without naming it danger. Click. 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 A woman passes carrying a folder against her ribs. She does not look at him. She is not a messenger. She is not fate. She is a person walking through a courthouse at noon. The sound fades. He lets it fade. This is harder than it sounds, because the ego likes to interrupt waiting with performance. It wants him to check his phone so he can look busy. It wants him to stand up and pace so the fear can have somewhere to go. It wants him to review the case again, not because review would help now, but because motion feels better than helplessness. His hand moves toward his phone. He catches it halfway. The screen is still dark. The message from the younger attorney is still inside it, unopened. For a moment, he wants to read it, not for information, but for rescue. He wants someone else's confidence to cover the part of him that is starting to collapse inward. He leaves the phone where it is. Not forever. Just now. That small refusal matters. Zanshin is not passive waiting. It is active contact with the present. The attorney is not pretending the verdict has no weight. He is refusing to let the waiting period become a courtroom where fear prosecutes him without evidence. He turns his attention to the facts. The jury is deliberating. The courtroom door is closed. His client is still inside with family. The judge has not called them back. His notes are in the briefcase. His next duty is to be ready. He does not say these facts out loud. He lets them line up silently, one at a time, like files placed squarely on a desk. Each fact has edges. Each fact belongs to the present. None of them requires him to hate himself. A bailiff walks past and gives him a small nod. The attorney nods back. He makes it slow enough to be real. Not a performance of confidence. Just acknowledgement. A human being passing another human being in a hallway where both of them understand that waiting has its own weather. Then he reaches down and opens his briefcase. The latch makes a soft metallic click. He takes out the legal pad, not to relitigate the whole trial, but to prepare for the next possible moment. He turns to a clean page. At the top, he writes 3 words in small block letters. If they return. He pauses. Then underneath, he writes what he actually needs, not what fear wants. Stand. Listen. Look at client. Nothing heroic. Nothing cinematic. Just the next conduct required of him if the door opens. He does not write an argument for his worth. He does not write a defense of his career. He writes the actions a man must remember when the room asks him to be steady. The bench is still under him. The light is still hard. The jury is still deciding. But now the waiting has a shape. That is how discipline becomes ritual. A person chooses one repeatable act that brings him back before the mind disappears into the future. His ritual in this hallway is simple: hand on wood, feet on marble, breath low, facts named, next duty written. When the fear rises again, he returns to the wood. When the heels click again, he listens until the sound passes. When the image of failure appears, he does not argue with it for 20 minutes. He labels it as fear, not prophecy, and brings his eyes back to the courthouse door as it actually is. Closed. Still. Unanswered. There is a strange humility in this. He cannot command the jury. He cannot command the past testimony. He cannot command how the verdict will land in the room. The only thing still available to him is the quality of his attention before the door opens. And that is not a small thing. Because professional failure becomes more dangerous when it makes a person abandon the very standards they fear they have lost. A lawyer who fears he has failed may start acting like a man already ruined. He may become careless with his face, his voice, his client, his own sense of proportion. He may let one possible outcome devour the duty still sitting in front of him. So he trains in the narrowest space available. One bench. One hallway. One noon hour too bright to soften anything. He does not become calm all at once. Calm is not the prize he demands before acting well. He acts well while the fear is still in the room. He lets his breath slow without forcing it. He keeps his hands visible and still. He reads the 3 words again, if they return. The wooden bench no longer feels like a place where he is being sentenced by his own thoughts. It becomes a training ground. Not because the bench changed. Because he did. The hallway changes before the door opens. Not in some dramatic way. No music rises. No one announces that a life is about to tilt. A clerk stops laughing near the copy room. The bailiff near the elevator checks his watch, then looks toward the courtroom with the kind of attention people only give when they already know the next thing is coming. The defense attorney sees it. A few minutes earlier, that small shift would have been enough to pull him completely out of himself. His mind would have rushed ahead. It would have dragged him through the doorway, placed him beside his client, forced him to watch the foreperson stand, and made him feel the verdict before anyone spoke a word. His body would still be on the wooden bench, but the rest of him would already be lost in the worst possible future. This time, he stays where he is. His palm rests on the bench. He feels the grain under his skin. The scratch in the varnish is still there, the same small scar his thumb had been worrying into a private confession. But now he does not use it to punish himself. He uses it to return. The bench is not a witness against him anymore. It is a piece of wood under a man who still has one duty left. He breathes once. Lower than before. Not perfectly. Not like a man who has conquered fear. His throat is still tight. His stomach still carries that hollow, cold drop that comes when your name, your work, and someone else's future are tangled together in a room you cannot enter yet. The fear of professional failure has not disappeared. It has only lost its permission to speak first. The heels return on the marble. Click. 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 This time he does not flinch toward the sound. He lets it cross the hallway and pass behind him. The sound belongs to the courthouse, not to his imagination. A person is walking. That is all. The mind reaches for prophecy, but he does not hand it the robe. Then the courtroom door opens. The bailiff steps out. For half a second, the whole hallway seems to narrow around that doorway. The bright noon light on the floor. The brass handle. The old wood. The small movement of the bailiff's hand as he holds the door partly open. Counsel. That is all he says. One word. Enough. The attorney closes his legal pad. He does not hurry. Hurrying would only be fear trying to disguise itself as readiness. He slides the pad into his briefcase, clicks the latch shut, and stands. There is a slight stiffness in his knee from sitting too long. He feels it when he rises. That small discomfort helps him. It reminds him that he has a body, that the body is here, that here is the only place where conduct can still be chosen. He smooths the front of his jacket once. Then he stops. He does not keep adjusting. He does not polish the surface until it becomes a mask. The cuff is straight enough. The tie is straight enough. His face does not need to perform innocence, confidence, or control. It only needs to remain available to the people who will look at it. Inside the courtroom, the air feels denser. His client turns toward him immediately. That is the moment the waiting was training for. Not the verdict. Not the legal result. The look. His client is sitting at the defense table with both hands locked together so tightly the knuckles have gone pale. The family is behind him, quiet in the way people become quiet when their hope has run out of words. The prosecutor is already in place. The judge looks down at the file. The jury box is still empty, but the room has changed because everyone knows the next sound will matter. The attorney meets his client's eyes. He does not give a false smile. He does not promise what he cannot promise. He does not look away to protect himself from the pain that might be coming. He gives a small nod. It is not victory. It is presence. The client's hands loosen by the width of a breath. That is enough to prove the training was not private after all. The way a man waits becomes the way he enters. The way he enters becomes the way others borrow steadiness from him when they have none left. He places his briefcase beside the table leg. The wood of the counsel table is darker than the bench in the hallway, worn at the edges by years of elbows, files, and nervous fingers. His hand rests there for a moment, and the bench returns to him in memory, the grain, the scratch, the heat from the noon light. The anchor has moved. At first, the wooden bench held his fear. Then it held his attention. Now it has become a reminder that no room gets to decide his character before he does. The jury enters. Everyone stands. Chairs scrape softly. A cough disappears before it becomes a sound. The foreperson avoids looking at the defense table, Or maybe the attorney only thinks that. He notices the thought and lets it go. Zanshin does not mean the mind stops offering interpretations. It means attention stops bowing to every one of them. The judge speaks. The clerk moves. Papers shift. The verdict form is carried forward. A thin line of sweat gathers beneath the attorney's collar. He feels it. He does not hate it. The body is allowed to tell the truth. Fear is allowed to exist in the room. But the voice that will answer the judge, the hand that will touch the client's shoulder if needed, the eyes that will stay open through whatever is read, those do not belong to fear anymore. He remembers what he wrote on the legal pad. Stand. Listen. Look at client. So he stands. He listens. He keeps his face turned slightly toward the person who may need him before the law finishes its sentence. Nothing about the outside world has softened. The jury may still wound him. The verdict may still become a mark on his record, a memory he carries home, a case he replays years later at a red light or over a cold cup of coffee. Professional failure remains possible. He knows that. But it no longer owns the whole room. The bright light from the hallway still cuts through the open door behind him. The wooden bench is out there, empty now, waiting for the next person who will sit down and fight a future that has not arrived. He is not empty. He is here. And sometimes the deepest transformation is not that the verdict changes. It is that the man waiting for it does not abandon himself before it arrives. The future can knock. It does not get to sit in your chair. The verdict may come back clean, or it may come back heavy. That is not the lesson waiting on the wooden bench. The lesson is what happens before life announces its decision. Because every person has some hallway where the mind starts inventing punishment early. Maybe it is outside a conference room after a presentation. Maybe it is in a kitchen after sending a message you cannot unsend. Maybe it is in the parking lot before walking back into a job where your name feels less secure than it did yesterday. Your bench may not be in a courthouse. But you know the sound of heels on marble. You know the small noise that drags you into the future. You know how quickly fear can turn waiting into self-prosecution. So today, do one smaller thing. Put your hand on what is real. Place both feet where you are. Name the fact before naming the disaster. Let the future stay outside the room until it actually opens the door. If this spoke to the part of you that waits too hard, stay with this channel. Not for motivation. For training. The defense attorney does not master the verdict. He masters the moment before the verdict. He does not become fearless. He becomes available. And in Zanshin, that is the quiet edge. The present moment becomes a blade only when attention gives it an edge.